How do we do this again?
I know.
That's what
Forgotten.
happens when you go on holiday. That'll make the cut.
Hello, and welcome to So You Want to Get Into Politics, Adventures of a Would-Be Councillor. This is a fly on the wall podcast following the journey of my friend Craig as he enters the world of party politics for the first time. I'm Rachel, and I'm a local resident of Bedminster and a town councillor.
And I'm Craig, and I hope that you, the listener, will learn how I can represent you and what I'm about. Rachel, how are we going to do it?
Well, we're going to do a weekly Q&A, hopefully picking up questions from our listeners.
£16,000 in grant funding from Dorset Council to support the CB3, and we can talk about local issues. Those things, whilst really, really important, aren't relevant to the local elections because
we're going to talk about the week's activities and what you've been up to.
I
shouldn't start getting a complex now.
No, it's too late now. Yeah, but I think it's quite important that I just put a warning out that sometimes we will go off topic. We are prone at laughing at each other and generally having a bit of a good time.
About me wearing a t-shirt with your face on it. And
that's right.
I'll have to drag it out and dust it off. So this podcast will be available each week from wherever you get your podcasts. So don't forget to subscribe, like and share to get up-to-date episodes.
Hello, Rachel.
Hello. Are you starting us off today, are you?
Well, I thought, seeing as you haven't been around for the last, what feels like 2 weeks and left me all on my own to try and do these things, which is why to our one listener, there hasn't been a podcast in just over a week because I couldn't figure out how to do the editing. So
yes.
I saved you from listening just to me, and we decided that we'd wait until the expert was back. So here we are. How was your holiday?
Well, quite frankly, no, it wasn't. No,
it was boring. Sorry, no, listen, it was boring. You literally ran me up and said, "Craig, that was awful. Just wait until I'm back from Edinburgh, and then we'll get the show back on the road." How was Edinburgh?
It was very good, actually. Went to see Hamilton. Very good.
Nice
show. Yeah, really, really good show.
Well,
but you know, while I've been away, there's been loads of exciting things happening, and I've missed a lot of the stuff that's been happening from town council related things.
Yeah.
That you've been there flying the flag. And tell us about all those amazing things that have been happening.
No, we've had a few bits of really good news, which is great to share. So the first thing that's sort of been released in a bit more detail is the £60,000. That'd be good, wouldn't it? £16,000 in grant funding from Dorset Council to support the CB3 and its core revenue costs, which is brilliant. So that really helps with sort of safeguarding the bus for the future, and it's also meant we've been able to extend the service into South Parrot. So South Parrot will have a bus service again, which is great.
So that's really good news, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I'm really pleased, and it just made sense. It didn't take too much sort of work on the timetables and things to make it happen. So it shows that these things can be done if you roll your sleeves up and get involved.
Well, and for our international listeners, just explain the benefit and why that's important. Because they won't know about little old Dorset.
No, well, the CB3 was originally sort of come into being to replace a regular Saturday service that was cut. But the other core purpose of the CB3 is to link the rural villages with Bedminster, Crewkerne, I think is how you pronounce it, and Bridport. And South Parrot is a village that is kind of on the run, but wasn't included in the service. So there are a couple of residents in South Parrot that do use the bus, but they have to sort of get a taxi or a lift to Crewkerne to then sort of connect with us. But for us to go into South Parrot and back, it's a kind of 5-minute country lane. So I was talking to a colleague about it, and somebody on the bus at the time literally said, "Oh yeah, I come from South Parrot," and the rest is history, really. Quite a few residents fed into me their interest around rural connectivity and buses, and it's one of my kind of key priorities as well, and it just made sense. So we sort of got our heads down and see if we can make it work, and we can make it work. So it's great. It sort of shows that we can look to re-establish some rural buses, and it also helps to show that we can find ways of funding community groups, which is obviously another key thing for me as well, is looking for extra more reliable funding for groups like Pratt Bridge. So and others across Dorset, obviously, if you change a policy at Dorset level. So, no, really good news, really pleased. And hopefully, touch wood, we're hoping to have all that in place. So we'll be picking up passengers late May, I believe.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
So
So
that's
that's one thing that was in the paper. What
yeah,
else?
that was one piece of good news. Second bit of sort of nice news coming that came through on Friday for the benefit of Mosterton. Actually, this is work that Rebecca Knox, obviously the current councillor, has been dealing with Dorset Council following obviously the tragic accident that happened in Mosterton. And one of my, again, a key thing for me is road safety. So Dorset Council updated Rebecca, and then obviously Rebecca updated myself and local councils that the speed limit in Mosterton has been reduced at the north end of the village. So there'll be a buffer between that kind of national into 30. So as of May the 17th, I think it is, residents up there shall see a new speed limit signs going up. So it'll go 60, 40, 30. So it's great news. Really pleased that the Rebecca's sort of started that off, and I'm hoping that I'll pick up that work and carry on because
Mm.
there's more to be done in Mosterton, in particular, kind of the south end of the village, and looking at safe crossing points for the school. And again, that's a local priority. So I'm hoping that's the start of a continuation of improvements that I'll be able to make taking over from Rebecca. So that was the second thing, which is really good. The third thing, we had a civic event at the public hall last Friday where I had the absolute honour and real privilege actually to host the honorary townsperson event. Not only did we have one new honorary townsperson join the board, but we actually had four. So
Mm.
that was brilliant. Recognizing really, local people that have done so much really good work locally for different charities and causes and things. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. It was really nice to see nearly 100 people from Bedminster came along to the event to just recognise those new honorary townspeople. So that was a really nice event where I dusted off the suit. Rach, you missed the
I did. I was absolutely gutted. I was flying back from Edinburgh and I just
yeah.
wasn't able to get there in time. And I'm absolutely devastated because it would
So
have been one of the fun things to have been able to have been a part of. And
yeah.
unfortunately, I had to send my apologies, but I hear it was a good thing.
So if for nothing else, for those kind of wavering voters, there is proof now that I do sometimes sort of wear a suit and I can I can
Yeah,
I can be a bit more formal.
you
Uh,
can.
Although I think somebody on Facebook on a post or a picture made a comment about this is typical Craig, no fancy suit, just rolling his sleeves up and getting on with it or something. And I was really I was got taken back by somebody making the effort to let's say that nice thing about me, but it did give me a bit of a complex that maybe I should smarten myself up a little bit because what's the
I
fourth?
shouldn't start getting a complex now.
No, it's too late now. Yeah, the fourth thing we had this week as well was the annual parish meeting,
Yep.
which I chair, and that's obviously an open meeting to the town. It's not actually a council meeting, but it is an open meeting for anyone to come along and ask any questions they want. And again, when I was really pleased and to be part of recognising some of the young people as well. So Pride Bridge were there handing out some awards to some of their local patrons, which was fantastic. And Bedminster School were also there with some awards for some of their pupils. So I was really glad and really pleased to be part of that process. And,
Do you mean recognizing the efforts of the young people as opposed to actually recognizing the young people?
recognizing the efforts. Yeah, nobody recognized the actual. We don't know where they came from. Could have been Colfox.
I
Uh,
recognize you.
yeah, I recognized you. Well done. Have a certificate. No, no, that was nice though. It was nice.
Yeah, good.
So that's one of the things I like with that. The two things I like with the annual parish meeting, and that it was my last one that I'm chairing, which was a bit bit of a shame, bit sad, I suppose. Is I'm chairing the last of things now. In the last few,
Yeah.
it's all the last of everything. The two nice things I like with the annual parish meeting is there's always a section where we recognise young people from the school and schools and Pratt Bridge. That's always nice. And the second thing is that members of the public come along and they can ask any questions they want. And we had
Mm.
a few really good questions. So I thought I'd relay them to you because they were that good. I thought I'd answer them twice.
Great. Like what then?
A member of the parish asked a question around doctor numbers in the town, and made a point that they felt that we were short of doctors. And I know that this is a bit of an issue um, with Jan Barton. I think Jan Barton are missing a doctor, and I think the other surgery was sort of low numbers as well.
Barton House, do you mean?
Oh yeah, Barton House, which is in Jan Barton car park. I think
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, it was quite useful because our local MP Chris Loader was along, so
Hmm.
he obviously was directed the question more than me. And actually for me it illustrated kind of a key point in these local elections, which is um, you know funding to doctors in the NHS, pharmacies and dentists, other things that have been talked about recently within the local campaign, like sewage and our waterways. All these things are really important subjects. I care about all of them because of the fact that I use doctors and I go to the pharmacists, and I'm trying to get dentist appointments as well. And as you know, Rachel, I spend a lot of time either down at West Bay or down in Cornwall surfing and bodyboarding. And Oliver, my eldest, is goes rowing in West Bay and all that sort of stuff. So all that stuff is really important. But it was an opportunity for the local MP to answer the question because they are also equally as importantly national issues.
Mm.
And it was a nice opportunity just to reaffirm the fact that in these local elections, those things, whilst really, really important, aren't relevant to the local elections because Dorset Council don't have any powers or legal kind of responsibilities, funding and otherwise, to deal with doctor surgeries and NHS funding and sewage and waterways. So it is all really important stuff, and the council has an important role to lobby representatives about them, which it already does, and I already do, and we all collectively do as residents. But it was just a nice opportunity just to, yeah, obviously people have views on them, but in terms of the local election, one of the reasons, well, the main reason I haven't talked about those issues on my sort of leaflets and my key priorities haven't featured those things is because they're not local responsibilities. So if I were to say to somebody, I'll sort out the doctor surgery, the reality is it would be what's the term they use? A misinformation. It would be a lie
Mm.
because
Yeah.
because Dorset Council can't influence those things. So if I
Mm.
if I have pledges to fix surgeries and pharmacies and GPs and waterways, it'd all be a lie because it's not what the local elections are about. So um, that was one question which the MP uh, answered, and that's his job. So
Yeah.
that's what he should do.
Do
Um,
you think people are concerned about the infrastructure around development with regards to this kind of thing as well?
Yeah, well, it brought up a second really important question as well, which was around infrastructure that kind of led off from the conversation about GPs,
Mm.
um, and concerns around the infrastructure of the town, in Bedminster in particular, around development that is proposed in the near future along the Broad Windsor Road. Um, and again, actually, that it gave an opportunity for me to try and explain how there are things in place that can sort of help with those issues. So when large developments are proposed, developers pay some taxes, and they're called SIL payments, Community Infrastructure Levy. It's a certain percentage, and that goes to Dorset Council, and that money is then used to pay for infrastructure. So the reason that's really important is because one, it feeds into one of my key priorities around a neighbourhood plan. Because if Bedminster has a neighbourhood plan, it gives Bedminster, one, the power to influence the type of development it wants, and two, more money from infrastructure levy. Because if you have a neighbourhood plan, it brings a higher rate of community infrastructure that's paid.
Right.
And the second reason it was a nice opportunity to talk about what we can do with that money is that community infrastructure levy can't be used for want of a better word, wages. So you can't buy two more doctors with community infrastructure levy. That's an NHS funding thing. But if it was decided in the future that maybe a local school needed to be extended, or we needed to extend the doctor's surgery, or we needed to make a road a bit wider, all these sorts of infrastructure type questions, there's money available to pay for it. So actually, 2, 3 years ago, I met with the developers, and within the plan, they've proposed to build a really nice kids park. But I want to. At the time, I suggested that the kiddies park is lovely, but we're surrounded with green fields. We've got a really nice park in the Memorial Playing Field, but
Yeah.
what we'd really like is some more community space. So what about building us a new community centre? Because I know in the past from talking to Prout Bridge and Paula at Prout Bridge when I first became chair that they are slightly worried and they have a concern that their landlord is Dorset Council, and it'd be nice to have their own home. And that's exactly the sort of thing that I would want to do through community infrastructure levy.
Mm.
And as a ward councillor, that's kind of your bread and butter, really. It's one of those kind of key things that you can help to influence. So things like maybe a new community space, safe crossing areas outside primary schools, which is right on my radar. All those things can be funded through community infrastructure levy, which is why I talk about neighbourhood plans and stuff like that. So it's two really good questions that was enable me to say, yeah, this stuff's really important, but it's not about that's not a local election thing. It's just about recognizing what this election is really about and what the national picture is about, and also to talk about different ways and how we can practically use a bit of money to do things like community spaces and safe crossing points and all that kind of stuff. So it was a really good meeting actually, and as we always say every week when we record these, more questions the better. It just helps you to sort of articulate yourself a bit more, doesn't it?
Well, it does, and it
Explain
obviously
things.
gives you an insight to what people are thinking and worrying about. And I mean, I know you choose not to say anything against the other parties and candidates that are coming forward, but I've had a leaflet through the door from the Reform Party,
Yeah,
and there's nothing on there about anything local. And I think this is the thing that is just so important, um, to remind everyone about what you're aiming for, and
yeah,
it's this local focus, isn't it? Even to the point where you're looking at what else can be done in Bedminster and
yeah.
thinking ahead where the community centre when the new development starts. Obviously, if it starts. Um, so yeah, it is important. It's important to hear what people are saying.
Yeah, and I think the main thing that I've had I've really tried to up my game in the last couple of weeks, and speaking to more people on the door as well. And actually, the two things I've taken away from talking to more people, on the doorstep is that, and that sounds such a cliche, doesn't it? That sounds like such a politician's thing. Well, on the doorstep, I've been told, but on the doorstep, I've been told. No, it's
Yeah, but how many politicians spend 20 minutes talking to their
I
people
know.
on the doorstep?
I've already spoke to three people. Um, no, I mean the two main takeaways I've had from my experiences so far is that not very, very, and I'm not just saying this because it suits, but I genuinely mean it, hand on heart. Very few people have mentioned anything to me around concerns on national issues. I
Mm,
genuinely think most people completely understand the roles and responsibilities of um, Dorset Council. Uh, and I think the second thing I've really taken away from it as well is that looking at or speaking to people that have said to me, well, the NHS is a mess or whatever it may be, is having that honest conversation where I've said, well, I don't disagree with you. Yeah, you're right. But, within my ability to control certain things, this is a local election. And every person that said a concern on a national issue have always said, oh yeah, I know it's a local. I know this is local.
mm.
Um, and again, just looking at the stuff that other parties are putting out there, that it's their campaign. They can do what they like. It's fine. But I think that nobody's really talking about local stuff.
No.
Most people are talking about certain national issues, and it I fear will just result in disappointment because, like I said, it's not a local. Um, Dorset Council aren't responsible for NHS funding. So if others are running a campaign based on those sorts of things, they're just going to let those people down who vote for them. Without
Yeah.
sounding, I don't mean to sound too aggressive on it, but that's the reality of it. Everything I'm talking about, I know is local stuff. I've got a plan of what I would do about it. And in half of those circumstances, I've already had some success. So I can kind of
Mm.
prove it works.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't care about the NHS, of course you do, but Dorset Council's not, that's not their thing. So yeah, it's been interesting.
Mm.
So yeah.
Good. Um, where are we going
Most
from here?
Where we go from here? Week and a half left. Week and a half ish left. So kind of getting to the business end of things now. So for those listening, for our one listener, um,
In
Hillary,
Russia.
I think you've already pledged your support, Hillary. But if you're still wavering, um, postal votes landed on doormats last Friday. So hopefully, Rach, I voted for myself, unless I filled the form in wrong.
Right.
So my first message to those listening is make sure you read the instructions thoroughly. You should,
Yes.
you should have received your postal vote through the post. If you have, fill it in and get it returned sooner rather than later because I think it's a second class envelope. So the longer you leave it, if it arrives late, it won't be counted. But you can take it to the polling station. So if you think you're going to miss
Ah,
the
so
post,
postal voters can still go to the polling
yeah,
station.
they can, but
Oh.
not to vote, just to hand in your kind of
Oh,
sealed
okay.
envelope. So more information available on all the usual relevant websites. I can't think of anything right now, but yeah, you. I'm sure that information will be shared out soon. But yeah, so yeah, postal votes landed on doormats on Friday. So hopefully, hopefully lots of people have already um, voted for me. Um, but yeah, if you've coming back from holiday and you're thinking, oh, I might not make the post, you can hand in your postal envelope all filled in and sealed to the polling station. So yeah, then we're kind of on the home stretch now.
Mm.
7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Bedminster Public Hall, Moston Public Hall, and the hall in South Parrot, 7 to 10. And I'm told I'll be very busy from 7 to 10. So
What will you be doing? I mean, I suppose probably would have wanted to talk about this later on, but what will you be doing between 7 and 10? Because you're not allowed to be near the halls, are you?
um, I don't know. No, I can. You're not allowed to have any kind of campaigning within a certain distance of the hall because obviously it can be a bit of an intimidation to voters.
Yeah, because we joked
Um,
about me wearing a t-shirt with your face on it, and
that's right.
I'll have to drag it out and dust it off.
um, I think really it would just be about reaching out to people that have sort of pledged their support. Going and visit people's houses, basically saying that you said you're going to vote for me.
Mm.
Tapping the odd watch. Come on then, get yourself down the hall. I think that's more or less the plan really. I know one of the other standard things is asking people to be tellers, which I didn't even know what that was, but a bit of a semi-interesting thing for you here, I suppose. Um, when you go to the public hall to vote, you may well find a few volunteers outside asking you how you're voting and asking you for your polling number because I'm sure like Lib Dems, myself, and other parties, we take your polling number and say that you voted, and it's as close as we get to kind of predictions.
Right, okay.
So you might have a couple of volunteers, or even be me outside, just saying hi. How did you vote? And so that doing that, but yeah, generally it'd be just kind of knocking up the vote, as they say, and just reaching out to um, people that have sort of said they'll support me and making sure they are. Well, hopefully making sure they are. But I'm told it'd be a very long day and I'm not allowed any breaks.
It closes at 10.
Yep.
When will you know?
So I should find out on Friday the following day. The count takes place. in a hall in Weymouth. I can't remember where it is, but again, I've got to be there at 9 o'clock in the morning. And I'm told the vote will be in alphabetical order, which means Bedminster is second. So I'm hoping to find out fairly quickly. And then, yeah, I don't know what happens after that. Well, I mean, obviously, long term after that, I'll become a councillor, or I don't. But yeah, so the vote is sort of 9 a.m. So 7 to 10 o'clock on the Thursday. And if anybody wants to join me, you will find me in one of the local pubs having a beer at the end of Thursday. I actually bumped into Paul out and about when we were both knocking doors last week, and I did say to Paul, once it's all done at 10 o'clock, we'll have to share a pint. We'll have a pint together.
Yeah, sharing a pint, that's a bit
And
drastic.
then yeah, that'd be a bit weird if we're sharing a pint, two straws.
Yeah.
Be like, yeah.
There's a
And obviously,
vision.
yeah, and obviously any other candidate that's on the ballot, they can join us too. We'll have a couple of drinks, and then Friday morning 9 a.m. I've got to be somewhere in Weymouth, and yeah, I should know by the end of the day on Friday. If I am successful, I shall we'll have to arrange something because there's been a real small army of amazing volunteers locally that have been so supportive. Which if you listen, which I doubt you do, but if you do listen, you know who you are. So I definitely will arrange something just to say thank you to all those that have helped me. And if I'm not successful, you'll never hear from me again.
Okay, so this sounds like this might be the last podcast that we do before we know whether you are going to be ward councillor. Might be able to squeeze one in, but
Yeah,
what do you
possibly.
think?
I mean, it's all getting really quite busy and frantic now. So, um, yeah, maybe we can try and get a couple more, get a couple more questions in and try and record one more before May 2nd. But if time just escapes us and I'm far too busy frantically posting leaflets and knocking those final doors, then we might run out of time.
Mm.
We'll have to keep the singular audience in suspense.
Yes.
You'll have to but if we do run out of time, or if we don't run out of time, regardless, maybe we'll try and do a podcast live, or that's something on the app that we haven't tried yet. Maybe we'll try and do something on the day as well.
That would be good.
Just who knows what that look like, but even if it's just a bit of an update, and yeah, maybe that could be fun. We can try and do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I think we should.
Okay.
All right. Well, it's good to
Awesome.
hear from you. And
Keep
yeah,
going.
well, watch this space for the next however many days. It's
Awesome.
exciting.
And if this is the last podcast for some time, thank you very much for keeping me on track. And if it's not, then we have to start. And if I am lucky, if I am fortunate enough and enough people trust me with their vote, we'll have to try and think of a new format to keep this interesting going forward. Because I'm sure people would love to hear. So you are a counsellor. What does that look like? We have to figure it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, that would be good. And thank you for being very open and frank and um clear about what your objectives are. And that's what this is about, teaching someone like me who's apolitical to understand more about it. And yeah, I think it's been mutually beneficial and it's been great.
Been fun, but more importantly, it's not about you. It's not about me. It's about our one listener. So to the one
Yes.
listener, thank you for giving us purpose.
Yeah, definitely. Brilliant. Okay,
Right.
we'll catch up with you soon.
Speak soon.
So don't forget to subscribe, like, and share to get up-to-date episodes.